Representatives from government and business present today, leaders of labour and civil society, fellow supporters and advocates of empowerment transformation across the continent, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to say all protocol observed. In these unprecedented times, even the most experienced analysts and commentators would be hesitant to give a view on what a post-COVID-19 world could look like. Bringing certainty to such an uncertain period is proving to be one of the main challenges we face in financial services and across sectors in general. History continues to remind us, however, that during great periods of uncertainty, there are certain anchors we can always rely on to lift us out of the socio-economic depression we find ourselves in and to keep us moving forward. Not only that, uncertain times have been known to spark great insights and innovations too, challenging stale thinking and bringing in a blast of fresh, new ways of looking at the issues of the day. I believe, and Old Mutual believes, that the grim challenges of 2020 can hold potential positives for the world. The general consensus is that the world is heading for a new normal. There's no going back to the way things were. It means accelerated transformation on a whole range of fronts. As organizations that are driving empowerment in this country, we see our role as helping to usher in a new world that is better, braver, and more beautiful than the old one. Therefore, whether we are talking about discrimination or bias based on race, age, gender, or disability, we say the time is now to reimagine the world we want, to reinvent the rules and tools to ensure that the new empowered world is much more inclusive, free of discrimination, and united in effectively eradicating issues such as gender-based violence. The key to building this future is, of course, education and skills development. As a company that's achieved level 1 BBBEE status with a radically transformed management team and controls in place to keep moving the transformation agenda of our business forward, we know that by channeling our resources and energy wisely, we can begin to overcome crippling social issues such as poverty, inequality, and unemployment. In addition, by strengthening our investment in education and skills development that we know can build a more prosperous future for the generations of tomorrow. So, what exactly are we striving to achieve? Or at the very least, what are the barriers we need to break down as a collective? The challenges are many. The official unemployment rate in South Africa climbed to 30.1% in March this year. And with the impact of the pandemic on jobs, experts predict that this will be closer to 50% soon. Things don't fare too well on the education front either. UNESCO reports that of all regions, sub-Saharan Africa has the highest rates of education exclusion. Over 1/5 of children between the ages of 6 and 11 are out of school, followed by 1/3 of youth between the ages of about 12 and 14. Data also shows that almost 60% of youth between the ages of about 15 and 17 are not in school. The need is real and the challenge seems great. But through sustained investment, innovation, and collaboration, we believe that Old Mutual can play its part in creating opportunities for sustainable change in the education space across the continent. An old quote says the best way to eat an elephant is to take one bite at a time. The size of this problem seems enormous at face value, but if we break it up, I believe it can become manageable. Across the sectoral divide, many organizations are already heavily invested in building societies that are more inclusive, and this includes Old Mutual. The key barrier is not a shortage of funds or a deficit of effort. It is that we don't work together. Many of you will have pre-existing education and skills development programs in place, some that span decades and have seen resources plowed into them into the millions. Yet, how often do we take the time to come together and ask, is this working? And can we do it more effectively? This is a challenge to myself and the organization that I lead, as well as to our fellow citizens and stakeholders. Finding a better way to achieve our common purpose is the outcome we need, and what I hope today's conference will catalyze. Education and skills development are the central pillars of our responsible business philosophy at Om. Over the last year, we've invested more than 100 million into programs designed to foster greater inclusion through education and skills development. These include financial education and inclusion programs designed to help our customers and communities reduce debt and promote a savings culture across the continent. Innovative skills development aimed at youth and other marginalized groups that seek to create opportunities for employment. And a focus on next generation education. We're active across the education value chain, specifically thinking about how the resources we plow into the sector can have a much broader impact. So it's not only direct funding, but thinking broadly about infrastructure and leadership development to drive more holistic results in our schools and institutions of learning. We also need to relook at our focus areas. It's not only proficiency in the STEM, that is science, technology, engineering, and maths subjects, that needs bolstering. We need to strengthen our trade skills, such as plumbing and electrical, etc., as well as the social sciences, humanities, and arts. Furthermore, we realize that working alone is the same as working apart, and so we continue to forge partnerships so that all of this work is not in vain and has the intended impact on the communities we serve. The urgency for us to collaborate in order to tackle our shared problems has in fact become a matter of life and death for millions of people across our continent. I mention these programs not to promote our business, but rather as a challenge for this community to take up. I encourage you to connect with us if you think we can improve our focus and become more effective. I'm also urging you to contact us if you see areas of collaboration that will lead to greater inclusivity in the education and skills development space. Disruptions to business, education, health, and generally every aspect of our daily lives because of the COVID-19 pandemic have forced us to ramp up our adoption and deployment of technology to keep our economy going. For many of us, embracing technology is now less about a future focus, but about what we can do now with the tech we have available to us so that we can create continuity, access, and some semblance of normality for those we serve. At Old Mutual, we're using tech to reach our customers, but also in the education space to connect, build, and create greater access to learning for communities across the continent. On the 17th of May this year, Old Mutual celebrated a significant milestone, 175 years of existence. Under normal circumstances, we would have celebrated in person with our 30,000 employees across Africa with the usual fanfare. Instead, we came together as an organization to think about how we could influence our new normal and leave a lasting legacy. The feedback from our staff was unanimous: focus on education. As a result, we launched an ambitious project to create Africa's biggest digital classroom, harnessing technology to bring learners, teachers, entrepreneurs, and all other interested stakeholders together onto a platform of shared learning and shared value that we intend will become a valuable resource for the continent. We're in the design phase of establishing this digital classroom, thinking about how to overcome grassroots issues such as data affordability, mobile access, curriculum and content, as well as partnerships to enable all of this. Again, I invite this community to get in touch and collaborate with us. As a leading Pan-African financial services company, we certainly have the scale and the will to make this work. But we realize that without the right partners and the enabling technology, the risk of failure is quite high. Before I close, I wanted to touch on an idea that is gaining traction across the globe, especially in light of the pandemic we're living through, and that is purpose-led leadership. Putting education and skills development at the forefront of the inclusivity and growth agendas for our continent is easier said than done. To give effect to the words and plans we all have in place, we need to encourage our organizations to become more purposeful in strategically adopting a shared value approach to operating in this new world. It's no longer good enough to do charitable things, but rather we should be using our organizations as part of a broader strategy to deliver on our purpose. The key is about turning purpose into something real and tangible. For us at Old Mutual, this is about growing our business through the work we're doing in education and skills development spaces. By continuing to invest, we create societies that are financially more literate and entrepreneurs who are able to create jobs for many more. This in turn creates more opportunities for our business and others to grow. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to acknowledge the teams at both Topco and Old Mutual for organizing today's virtual conference. While we're proud of the work that's gone into advancing our empowerment journey at Old Mutual, we acknowledge that there's still much to be done, which is why I think our theme today is timely, and I hope that we forge greater alliances as we jointly work to create economies that are more inclusive across Africa. Thank you very much.